When Leona received the video from her uncle, she didn't react right away. She just sat there on the couch, phone in hand, replaying it 3 times. Each time, the words sank deeper. Her mother's voice came first, sharp and impatient. "She owes us after everything we've done for her." Then her sister chimed in, her tone casual but cruel. "She should be grateful. Without us, she'd still be sleeping in that rat hole." And finally, her father laughed, a sound that once felt like comfort but now echoed like thunder. "She's a burden," he said. "Always has been worthless." They were sitting around her own kitchen table, the one she had bought for them last year when they moved into the house she was paying for. Every inch of that room, the curtains, the plates, the table, was a gift from her sacrifices. She paused the video at one point, right when her mother leaned in and said, "Don't tell her about this. She'd get emotional." They all laughed again. That laughter was the sound of something breaking inside Leona. That was the moment she stopped being their daughter. Leona had always believed that love was measured by sacrifice. She worked 2 jobs after college, skipped vacations, and even skipped meals just to send money home. When her father's health declined, she didn't hesitate. "Family first," she used to say. Her parents promised they'd pay her back someday. But she never asked for it. Gratitude was enough for her, or so she thought. Every month, she sent payments directly to the mortgage lender, labeling each transfer for family. But that night, watching that cruel video, she realized something new. Family wasn't blood. It was loyalty. And loyalty was a language her family never learned. She didn't confront them immediately. That wasn't her style. Silence, she believed, unsettled people more than anger ever could. Instead, she sent her uncle a short message. "Thanks for showing me." He didn't reply. He didn't need to. The next week, she called her mother, keeping her voice warm and familiar. "Hi, Mom. How's your arthritis?" Her mother sighed dramatically. "It's fine. By the way, sweetheart, the next mortgage payment is due soon." Leona smiled into the phone. "I know. Don't worry." Her mother exhaled in relief, unaware that her comfort was about to end. That night, Leona opened her laptop. The glow of the screen lit up her face as she logged into her bank account. Her cursor hovered over the automatic payment tab. One click canceled. Her chest rose and fell slowly. Then she began to plan. She checked the deed of the house and discovered something important. When she had helped her parents refinance, she had signed as guarantor. The lender had listed her as a co-owner. Legally, half the property belonged to her. The next day, Leona called the bank. Her tone was calm and polite. "What happens if the payments stop?" she asked. The banker replied matter-of-factly, "Foreclosure proceedings begin after 90 days." Leona smiled faintly. 90 days, it felt poetic. 3 months to let them feel the weight of her silence. Next, she called her lawyer, Mr. Hale, a quiet man who owed her a favor. "File for petition," she said. "I want to sell my share." He hesitated. "Leona, your family won't like this." She gave a small laugh. "They already don't." 2 months passed before her mother noticed. The first time she called, her voice trembled. "Leona," the bank sent a letter. Something about a missed payment. Leona feigned confusion. "That's strange," she said softly. "I thought Dad was handling that now." "Your father doesn't even know how to log in," her mother snapped. Leona's tone remained kind. "Maybe you should call the bank directly." Then she hung up, calm and composed. For the first time in years, she felt power settle quietly inside her. A week later, her sister texted, "What's going on? Mom's freaking out." Leona read the message, then set the phone down. She didn't reply. Her sister had been laughing in that video too. When the second notice came, her mother's tone cracked. "Please, Leona," she said over the phone, her voice breaking. "We could lose everything." Leona looked out her apartment window, the city lights reflecting in her eyes. "Maybe you should talk to the bank again," she said, then hung up. Her silence was her answer. By the third notice, panic had turned to desperation. Her parents started calling relatives, even neighbors, trying to find out what went wrong. Her uncle told her through a text, "They're asking everyone for help." She replied, "Don't get involved." She didn't need to explain. The truth was already unraveling them. Pride was cracking, and fear was seeping through the fractures. 3 months later, Leona finally visited. The house looked different, dull, almost hollow. Her parents sat in the living room, surrounded by piles of unopened mail. Her father looked older, her mother smaller somehow. When Leona walked in, her mother stood up quickly. "Why would you stop paying? We could lose everything." Leona's gaze drifted across the room. The furniture, the paintings, the memories, all funded by her hands. She spoke quietly. "Because you already lost me." Her father's face turned red. "After all we did for you, this is how you repay us?" Leona met his glare with calm eyes. "All you did for me?" she repeated softly. "You mean the years I paid your mortgage, the house you live in, the food in your fridge?" Her mother's voice shook. "We didn't mean what we said in that video." Leona nodded slowly. "But you did say it. Every word. And the worst part wasn't what you said. It was that you said it together." The silence that followed was heavy, thick enough to drown in. Her sister leaned forward, voice trembling. "Who sent it?" "Doesn't matter," Leona replied. "What matters is that I finally saw the truth." Her mother's voice rose. "We were just joking. Families say things." Leona shook her head gently. "Families don't call their daughter worthless over dinner." Her father slammed his palm on the table. "You're ungrateful." She turned to him, unflinching. "Ungrateful? I've given you everything. You didn't raise a daughter. You raised a lifeline. And you cut it yourselves." She pulled a brown folder from her bag and placed it on the coffee table. "That's the legal paperwork," she said. "I'm selling my half. The bank will handle the rest." Her sister jumped up. "You can't do that. It's our home." Leona's tone stayed even. "Half mine, half yours. That's what the law says." Her mother's lip quivered. "Please don't do this, Leona. We're your family." Leona's expression softened for the briefest moment. "You were," she whispered. "But family doesn't talk about you like that. Family doesn't drain you, and then laugh about it." Her father turned away, muttering under his breath, "Ungrateful brat." She gathered her folder, turned toward the door, and said, "This is the last time I walk into this house." Over the next few weeks, her phone exploded with messages. Her mother sent long texts filled with guilt and nostalgia. "You're still my baby, Leona. Don't throw away everything we built." Her sister wrote shorter, angrier ones. "You're ruining us. You'll regret this." Leona didn't reply to either. The only message she opened was from her uncle. It read, "They're panicking, trying to sell things." She typed back one line, "Let them learn what panic feels like." Then she put her phone face down and went back to her dinner. The foreclosure notice came exactly 90 days after the last payment. The bank began proceedings quietly, efficiently. Leona's lawyer updated her weekly. "Once it's processed, you'll receive your portion of the sale." She thanked him. Her mother called again the following day. "Leona, please, we can't lose our home. Your father's sick. He's coughing all night." Leona's voice was soft but firm. "You should have thought about that before you called me worthless." Then she ended the call. She didn't cry. The ache inside her was replaced by something steadier, resolve. When the bank officials arrived to inspect the property, Leona went too. Her mother was on the porch, hair uncombed, eyes swollen from crying. "You're here to help us, right?" she asked hopefully. Leona adjusted her purse strap.
"No, Mom.
"I'm here to sign my part of the sale." Her father's voice cracked from behind her. "We can fix this. We'll apologize. We'll do whatever you want." Leona turned, her tone quiet but final. "You can't apologize for what you believe. You showed me who you are. I believe you." The house was listed within 2 weeks. Neighbors whispered when they saw the "for sale" sign outside. Her mother avoided the yard, too ashamed to answer questions. Her sister stopped posting family photos online. Pride, that mighty wall they had always hidden behind, had finally crumbled. One afternoon, Leona's uncle called. "They're packing up," he said softly. "They can't afford to stay." She took a slow breath. I know. They'll hate you for this, he added. Maybe, she said, but at least now they'll understand what hate feels like when it's dressed as love. On the day the sale closed, Leona met her lawyer at the bank. The proceeds have been divided, he said. Your portion will be wired today. She nodded. When she checked her account later that evening, the deposit was there, a sum large enough to buy peace. She poured herself a glass of wine and whispered to the empty room, It's done. For the first time in years, she didn't feel guilt tugging at her chest. Just quiet. Sweet, deliberate quiet. A week later, her uncle texted again. They moved into a rental. Your sister's furious. Leona smiled faintly. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard for a moment before she typed, Tell her rent's due on the 1st. He replied with a single emoji, a handshake. No words needed. Silence had become their shared language. Months passed. Leona settled into her new apartment. The walls were bare at first, but peace hung heavy in the air. She woke early, drank coffee by the window, and finally read the books she'd been buying for years but never had time for. Sometimes, in the quiet of evening, she'd replay that video, not to hurt herself, but to remind herself how clarity sounds. She didn't hate them anymore. She simply didn't care. One evening, her sister called. We need to talk, she said. Leona hesitated but answered. About what? Her sister's voice shook. Mom's not doing well. She blames herself. Leona stayed silent for a beat. Good, she finally said. Then she's learning. Her sister gasped. How can you be so cold? Leona's reply was soft. Because I've been burned too many times. Then she hung up. The silence afterward didn't sting. It soothed. Her boss noticed the change in her. You look lighter, he said one morning. New haircut. She laughed. Something like that. What she didn't tell him was that she'd cut off more than hair. She'd cut off years of emotional debt. Without the weight of obligation, she worked better, slept longer, and smiled easier. Freedom had no sound, but it felt like fresh air. One Sunday, she drove past her old neighborhood. The house looked smaller now, stripped of its shine. Her mother was outside, hanging clothes on a line. Leona didn't stop. She slowed just enough to see, then kept driving. Some goodbyes don't need words, they only need distance. That night, she wrote a letter she'd never send. Dear Mom, Dad, and Elise, it began. I hope you find peace in the walls you once filled with laughter and lies. I'm not angry anymore. I'm free. I hope someday you understand that losing me wasn't revenge. It was survival. She folded the letter neatly and tucked it into a drawer. Weeks turned into months. Her uncle invited her for dinner. You did the right thing, he told her gently. Some people only learn when comfort is taken away. Leona smiled faintly. Maybe. Or maybe some people never learn. He looked at her for a long moment. And you? Did you learn? She nodded. Yes. I learned that silence can build walls stronger than words. When Christmas came, her phone stayed quiet. No calls, no messages. She thought it might hurt, but it didn't. Instead, she baked cookies, watched movies, and laughed with a few close friends. One of them, Janelle, said, You seem happier, Leo. What changed? Leona smiled. I stopped paying for my pain. One cold evening in February, her sister showed up at her office. You won't even talk to me face to face? She demanded. Leona looked up calmly. I'm working. You've destroyed our parents, her sister snapped. You made them homeless. Leona folded her arms. No. They destroyed themselves. I just stopped saving them. Her sister's eyes filled with tears. You've become heartless. No, Leona replied softly. I've become honest. After her sister stormed out, Leona sat for a long time staring at her computer screen. She thought about how easily guilt used to control her, how she once mistook manipulation for love. Now she recognized the difference. Love didn't demand exhaustion. It didn't thrive on guilt. It gave space. It gave peace. She realized she'd finally built her own version of family, one rooted in respect, not need. Months later, She bought a small house on the outskirts of town. The walls were bare, the rooms simple, but they were hers. No debt, no secrets, no expectations. One evening, as she hung new curtains, she whispered to herself, "This is home." For the first time, the word didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. Her mother sent a letter months later, handwritten, shaky. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean the things I said. We were ungrateful." Leona read it twice, then folded it carefully and placed it in a box with old photos. Forgiveness, she decided, didn't always require a reply. Sometimes, silence was the most merciful answer. Her uncle visited again. "They're trying to move on," he said. "Your mother's calmer now. Your sister not so much." Leona smiled gently. "Everyone heals at their own pace." "And you?" he asked. She looked out the window. "I stopped healing," she said. "I'm whole." Sometimes, late at night, Leona still thought about that video. The laughter, the betrayal, the way her heart had fractured in one click. But she didn't cry anymore. Now, it served as a reminder of the lesson that saved her. Not every bond deserves saving. Some have to be severed for you to breathe. She began mentoring young women at her firm, helping them set boundaries at work and at home. "You can love people and still say no," she told one intern. "Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means control." The girls smiled. "Did you learn that the hard way?" Leona chuckled. "The hardest." Years later, Leona drove by the old neighborhood again. The house had been repainted, new owners living inside. She parked for a moment, just long enough to feel the ghost of who she used to be. Then she whispered, "Thank you," not to them, but to herself for leaving. That night, as she lay in bed, the moonlight spilling across her sheets, she thought about everything she'd lost and everything she'd gained. She had built them a home out of love, and they had burned it with greed. But she didn't rebuild it for them. She rebuilt herself. And for the first time in years, she slept soundly, not out of peace with them, but peace with herself.